They gave the alien princess to a human as a prank, and now she is a mother by choice. The Galactic Council chamber floated above a blue star. Its walls were made of light and metal that changed color with mood. Today, the colors were bright and sharp. This meant amusement. Many species sat in wide seats, shaped for their bodies, tall ones, small ones, scaled ones, winged ones. All of them shared one thing. They were bored. The Council had ruled the galaxy for a long time. Wars were rare. Rebellions were crushed early. New species were studied, judged, and placed into neat categories. Danger, useful, harmless. Humans were in the last group. They were loud, emotional, soft-bodied. They fought each other often, but never well against stronger races. Their strength was average. Their technology was copied from others. Their politics were messy. The Council enjoyed watching them fail. One counselor, a tall being with silver skin and dark eyes, leaned forward. The counselor said the words slowly, enjoying them. Humans value bonding more than power. Soft laughter spread through the chamber. Another counselor replied, "They form families with no logic. They attach meaning to weak ties." A third voice joined. "Then let us test that weakness." On the center platform stood a young alien woman. She was still, her posture perfect, her face calm. She wore the symbol of royal blood on her collar. Her name was Lyra. Lyra was a princess of the Valari Union. Her people were proud, cold, and strict. Choice was not valued. Duty was everything. Lyra had learned this since birth. She did not speak unless spoken to. She did not ask questions. She did not dream of a life beyond what was chosen for her. Today, her future was being decided without her voice. The Council announced the prank. Lyra would be given to a human. Not as a guest, not as a diplomat. As a bonded companion. The Council expected laughter across the galaxy. The Valari would feel insulted. The humans would feel shame. Both outcomes pleased the Council. Lyra listened in silence. Inside, her thoughts were quiet, but heavy. She had been prepared to be traded, married, used. But this was different. Humans were unpredictable, emotional. Their behavior was often described as unsafe. Still, she did not resist. Resistance was not part of her training. The Council finalized the order. On a distant human station, a man named Ethan Cole was repairing a power relay. Ethan was not important. He was not a soldier or a leader. He was an engineer who liked quiet work and clear rules. He fixed things so others could live comfortably. He lived alone in a small room with a window facing deep space. He drank his coffee slowly. He slept lightly. When the message arrived, he thought it was a mistake. The screen showed an official council seal. That alone made his chest tighten. The message was short. By galactic order, you are assigned a bonded alien companion. Transfer will occur in 12 standard hours. Ethan stared at the screen. He read it again. Bonded companion. He whispered to himself. This has to be a joke. Humans were not usually chosen for council games. They were ignored, not targeted. Ethan sent a reply asking for clarification. The response came fast. Compliance is mandatory. Ethan sat down heavily. Fear came first, then confusion, then anger. He had never asked for this. He had never even met an alien in person. Now one was being sent to him like cargo. He thought of stories from history. Worst, bonds, ownership, cruelty. His stomach turned. On the transport ship, Lyra stood in a white chamber. The walls were smooth. There were no windows, no comfort. She had been told nothing except the destination. A Valari guard spoke once. You are to serve a human. This is the will of the council. Lyra nodded. Inside her chest, something felt wrong. Not fear, something quieter, something like falling. The ship entered human space. Ethan waited at the docking bay. He had argued for hours with station officials. None of them could change the order. They avoided his eyes. When the ship doors opened, cold air rushed out. Mist filled the bay. Then she appeared. Lyra was taller than Ethan. Her skin had a faint blue tone. Her eyes were large and silver. Her movements were controlled and careful. She looked like someone trained to never make mistakes. Ethan swallowed. "This is not a prank," he thought. "This is real." Lyra looked at him. Her expression did not change, but she studied his face closely. She expected disgust, anger, laughter. She saw none of that. Ethan stepped forward slowly. He spoke carefully. "Hello, my name is Ethan." Lyra hesitated. No one had told her to respond. Then she spoke. "I am Lyra of Valari." Her voice was soft and even. Ethan nodded. "I am sorry. I do not understand why they did this." Lyra blinked. That was not the response she expected. "You are displeased?" she asked. Ethan shook his head. "I am concerned. You were sent here without choice."
"That is wrong." The word wrong echoed in Lyra's mind.
No one had ever used that word about council orders. She remained silent. Ethan gestured toward the station hallway. "You do not belong to me. You are a guest. We will figure this out together." Lyra followed him, confused. The council cameras watched. Laughter spread across distant halls. They expected humiliation. Instead, they saw something strange, a human offering respect. Inside the station, humans stared. Whispers followed. "Is that the alien? Did you hear what the council did?" Ethan felt their eyes but kept walking. He showed Lyra a private room. Simple, clean, a bed, a window. "This is yours," he said. "You can lock it. No one enters without permission." Permission. Another strange word. Lyra touched the door panel. She had never owned a space that was hers alone. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. Ethan answered honestly, "Because no one should be treated as an object." Lyra stood still for a long moment. Something inside her shifted. A small crack in a perfect wall. Far away, the council continued to laugh. They did not yet understand. This prank had already failed. The first night passed quietly. Lyra did not sleep. She sat on the edge of the bed and watched the stars through the window. The human station moved slowly, like a drifting thought. She had lived in royal halls her whole life, but none of them had windows that could be opened by choice. Choice, the word, stayed with her. Outside her room, Ethan also could not sleep. He sat at his small table, staring at a cold cup of coffee. His mind kept replaying the moment the council ship arrived. They sent a person, he thought. Not a gift, not a joke.
A person. He felt anger but also responsibility.
In the morning, the station lights softened to signal day cycle. Lyra heard gentle music through the walls. It was not a command tone or alert. It was calm. She opened the door slowly. Ethan was already awake. He stood in the cooking area, moving with quiet care. The smell of warm bread filled the room. He turned when he saw her. "Good morning," he said. Lyra paused. She had heard the phrase before, but it was never directed at her. "Good morning," she replied. Ethan smiled, just a little. "I made food. I do not know what you eat, so I made simple things." He pointed to the table. There was bread, fruit, and warm liquid in a cup. Lyra approached carefully. She scanned the food with her wrist device. It was safe. She sat. No one had ever prepared food for her personally. Servants followed schedules and rules. This felt different. Ethan sat across from her, leaving space. "If you need anything changed," he said, "just tell me." Lyra took a small bite of bread. It was soft, warm, comforting in a way she did not expect. "Why are humans like this?" she asked. Ethan blinked. "Like what?" "You do not act as owner. You act as host." Ethan thought for a moment. "We learned the hard way that forcing people creates enemies. Letting people choose creates allies, sometimes family." The word family made Lyra lower her eyes. Among her people, family meant duty, blood, control. Ethan stood and cleaned quietly after breakfast. He asked if she wanted to see the station. Lyra hesitated. Am I allowed? Ethan looked surprised. You are allowed to do whatever you choose, as long as it does not hurt others. She followed him into the hall. Humans stared, but not with hate. With curiosity, a woman with dark hair waved. Hey, Ethan, she said. New guest.
This is Lyra, Ethan replied. Lyra, this is Claire Morgan.
She works in medical. Claire smiled. Welcome. If you need anything, just ask. Lyra nodded, unsure how to respond. As they walked, Lyra observed humans closely. They laughed loudly. They argued. They apologized quickly. They touched shoulders and hands without fear. There were children running in a nearby hall. One tripped and cried. An older man picked the child up and comforted them. Lyra stopped walking.
Ethan noticed. Are you okay?
She watched the child calm down. Why did he help? She asked. Ethan answered simply. Because the child was hurt. No other reason. Lyra felt something tighten in her chest. On Valari worlds, weakness was ignored. They continued walking. Ethan showed her the garden section. Plants grew under soft lights. Humans cared for them daily. You grow food even when you can't synthesize it, Lyra said.
Ethan nodded. Growing things teaches patience.
Lyra touched a leaf. It moved slightly. That night, the council watched their feeds. They saw no fear, no humiliation. One counselor frowned. This is not the reaction we predicted, another replied. Humans hide their weakness behind politeness. Back on the station, Ethan received a message from his supervisor. Be careful. The council is watching. Ethan closed the screen. Lyra noticed his expression change. Are we in danger? She asked.
Ethan considered lying.
She did not. Yeah, maybe later. Not now. Lyra nodded. That honesty mattered more than comfort. Days passed. Lyra learned how humans worked. She helped in the garden. She learned basic repairs from Ethan. He taught her without treating her as slow or superior. In return, Lyra shared Valari knowledge. Advanced star maps. Energy efficiency methods. Ethan listened. One evening, Lyra asked a question she had been holding. Why were you chosen? Ethan laughed quietly. I am not important. I think that is why. Lyra studied him. On Valari worlds, only the powerful were noticed. Ethan was powerful in a way her people did not understand. One afternoon, a human named Daniel Brooks joined them for a meal. He looked nervous. So, you are the alien princess, right? Lyra nodded. Daniel scratched his head. Sorry about the prank thing. That was messed up. Lyra tilted her head. You apologize for actions not yours. Daniel shrugged. Humans do that. Lyra stored that thought carefully. Later that night, Lyra stood again by the window. She realized something that frightened her. She was not counting days. For the first time, she did not want to leave. Somewhere deep in council space, laughter faded. The prank had created something dangerous. A connection. And the council did not yet know how powerful that could be. Lyra had been on the human station for several weeks. Each day felt different from the last, yet familiar. She no longer counted time in hours, but in experiences. The laughter of children, the smell of warm bread, the quiet hum of the station. These things had become her world. She watched Ethan move through the halls, helping anyone who needed it. He did not command respect. He earned it by action. Lyra had never seen this before. Among her people, authority was inherited. Obedience demanded. Here it was given freely, and only those who deserved it held it. One afternoon, Ethan invited Lyra to a meeting in the station's communal hall. A small group of humans and aliens were gathered around. They discussed station operations, energy, food supplies, and repairs. Lyra noticed that everyone's voice mattered. Suggestions were heard, debated, then either accepted or rejected. No one dismissed another because of rank. This idea unsettled her. After the meeting, Ethan walked with her toward the garden section. The soft lights made the leaves glow. "Do you like it here?" he asked quietly. Lyra looked around, touching a leaf gently.
It was real. Fragile.
"Alive." She nodded. "I think so. Humans." "They are not what I expected." Ethan smiled. "That is usually a good thing." Lyra hesitated. She had not spoken about her feelings before. Not to anyone. Her words felt strange coming out. "I want to learn more." "About humans," she said. Ethan stopped walking.
About what? About how you...
"Bond. How you care. How you choose." Ethan thought for a moment. "We are messy. Emotional. Not always right, but we value choice. That is the part I think you notice." Lyra nodded slowly. Choice. She remembered how her life had been arranged. Every move monitored. Every action decided by someone else. She had obeyed. Never questioned. Never hoped. Now she felt something different. Hope. Over the next few days, Lyra observed families on the station. Parents held children gently, not as property, but as guides. Siblings helped each other, laughed together, argued, then apologized. She saw humans care for elders, neighbors, and even strangers. One evening, Ethan brought a small human girl named Mia to the garden. She was shy at first, hiding behind his leg. "This is Mia," he said. "She likes to watch the plants grow." Lyra knelt slowly. Unsure, Mia peeked out, eyes wide and curious. "Hello," Lyra said softly. Mia smiled slowly. She crept closer and touched Lyra's hand. Lyra froze at the contact. It was warm, alive, unexpected. Ethan watched quietly. He did not interrupt. He knew Lyra needed to feel this on her own. Over time, Lyra spent more hours with Mia. She read to her, showed her how to water the plants, helped her count the leaves and flowers. She felt something deep inside her, something she could not name yet. It was a pull, a longing she had never known. One night, Lyra sat by her window and whispered to herself, "What is this feeling?" Ethan entered quietly, holding 2 cups of tea. "Thinking," he said. Lyra looked at him. His presence was calm, steady, safe. "Do not know what it is," she admitted. "It is okay. Feelings are complicated. We do not always understand them right away." Lyra stared at the stars. "Among humans, you choose love. You choose family. You choose your path. You can take a life like mine and make it your own." The words echoed in her mind. Make it your own. She had never had that option. Ever. The next day, Lyra walked through the station alone. She passed humans going about their work, and she realized something she wanted more than observation. She wanted connection. Real connection. She approached Ethan in the workshop. "I have a question," she said. He looked up from a broken console. "What is it? Can a human family be chosen?" Ethan smiled gently. "Yes. You can choose to be a parent, even without obligation. You can care for a child, teach, love. You do not need to be forced." Lyra hesitated. The concept was foreign. To her people, bloodlines decided everything. Nothing was ever chosen freely. "I want to try," she said quietly. Ethan froze. "Try what?" "To have a family, by choice." Ethan's eyes softened. "That is a big step." Lyra nodded. "I understand. I want to choose, not be forced." Ethan put down his tools and approached her. "Then we will figure it out together," he said. "No pressure, no rules. Just support." Lyra felt a warmth in her chest she had never known. Relief and something else. Excitement, fear, but good fear. She began learning about human parenting. She studied books, observed families on the station, and spent more time with Mia. She felt protective, curious, and drawn to the joy of children. The humans around her were patient, answering her questions, explaining emotions, and guiding her without controlling her. One evening, Lyra shared a meal with Ethan, Claire, and Daniel. The conversation was light, full of laughter and stories. For the first time in her life, Lyra felt included. She did not feel like a princess, a tool, or a pawn. She felt like herself. Later, she walked alone to the observation deck. She gazed at the stars and imagined a life that could belong to her. A life where she decided. A life where she chose to love, to nurture, to be a parent. The council's prank felt like a distant shadow. It had brought her here, yes, but it no longer controlled her. She could make her own decisions. Over the next weeks, Lyra worked with Ethan to prepare a small room for a child. She arranged the furniture, placed toys, and even painted walls with soft colors. She felt strange pride. Pride in creating a space, not because she was commanded, but because she wanted to. One night, she confided in Ethan. "I am scared. I do not know if I can do this." He held her hand lightly. "Fear is part of life. You do not need to face it alone." Lyra felt the truth in his words. For the first time, she realized that choosing love and family meant embracing risk, embracing responsibility, and embracing herself. She looked at Ethan and smiled faintly. Then, quietly, she made a promise to herself. "I will do this. I will be a mother not because someone tells me, but because I choose." Ethan squeezed her hand. "Then we begin," he said. Lyra felt the weight of the decision and the lightness of freedom at the same time. The council might have thought they controlled her, but they had only given her the chance to choose, and she had chosen her. For the first time in her life, she felt alive. The news of Lyra's choice spread faster than she expected. It started quietly, whispers among humans, curiosity from aliens, and then messages from distant council monitors. The prank that was meant to humiliate humans had turned into something entirely different. It had become a story of choice, freedom, and courage. On a distant Volari world, the council erupted in anger. Their voices echoed across the chamber, a mix of disbelief and fury. "How could a princess defy her duty?" one counselor demanded. "She was ours," another said. "She belongs to the Volari, yet reports showed her not only alive, but happy. She was teaching, laughing, caring. She had bonded with a human, not out of fear, but trust. She had chosen. This was impossible. The council had never faced such a situation. Never had a human shown strength without weapons or fleets. And now their precious Volari princess had refused obedience. Far away, Lyra walked the station's garden with Ethan. The plants were soft in the light, the smell of fresh soil comforting. She felt calm, but alert. She knew the council could act. She had grown up learning their methods. "Do you think they will come for me?" she asked quietly. Ethan glanced at her. "Maybe, but we will be ready. We do not need weapons first. We need courage and choice. That is something they cannot control." Lyra considered his words. They were simple but true. Courage came from deciding for oneself. Choice could not be taken by force. One day, warning lights flashed across the station. A fleet of Volari ships appeared outside, engines humming with precision. The council had sent them to retrieve Lyra. Humans ran to their stations, checking power systems and security. Ethan stood beside Lyra, calm but determined. "We will not fight unless we must," he said. "Let them see who we are first."
Lyra nodded. She felt fear, yes, but also resolve.
She had chosen this life. She would not abandon it. A Volari commander transmitted a message to the station. His voice was cold and formal. "Princess Lyra, return immediately. You are ordered. Compliance is required." Lyra stepped forward. Her voice was steady. "I am not returning. I am choosing my life. I choose to stay." The commander's ship trembled. He had never encountered a human who allowed this. Ethan placed a hand lightly on Lyra's shoulder. "You do not need to speak alone. They will hear both of us." Vera felt strength in his presence. Together they stood on the observation deck, showing no fear. The commander tried to intimidate them. "Your actions will have consequences," he said. Ethan looked back at him calmly. "You already see the consequence. She is choosing, not obeying. We will not stop her from doing so." For the first time, the Velari ships hesitated. Humans had never acted like this. Usually fear or bribery worked. Now they were met with calm strength. Not weapons, not anger, just dignity. Over the next hours, the council debated. Some ships returned to the edge of human space, confused and frustrated. Others hovered, unsure of action. The council realized that Lyra's choice had inspired more than the humans. Even lower-ranking Velari citizens were asking questions. What if obedience was not always right? What if choice mattered? Back on the station, Lyra continued her life, teaching Mia and helping with the station's daily routines. She had become a symbol without even trying. Children waved at her. Humans brought small gifts. Other aliens watched quietly, intrigued. One evening, Ethan approached her with a report. "The council is sending observers," he said. "They are curious, not hostile. Yet." Lyra frowned. "We cannot control them." "No," Ethan agreed. "But we can show them something better. We can show what choice and care look like." That night, they held a small gathering in the garden. Humans, aliens, and even some Velari station staff were invited. They shared food, laughter, and stories. Lyra spoke to the crowd, explaining her decision. She did not lecture. She did not demand respect. She simply told the truth. "I chose to stay," she said. "I chose to care. I chose to be part of this life, not because I was ordered, but because it is mine." The crowd listened quietly. Some humans smiled. Some aliens whispered. A few Velari looked shocked. Later, a Velari diplomat arrived quietly. He approached Lyra and Ethan. "Princess," he said, "we have come to understand." Lyra nodded. "It is simple. I choose." The diplomat studied her. "Your people will find this hard to accept."
"I know," she said.
"But maybe it is time to accept that not all life is ruled by duty. Some is ruled by choice." As the weeks passed, more aliens arrived at the station. Not to fight, but to observe. They wanted to learn. They asked questions. They watched humans work together, care for one another, and allow freedom. Lyra taught them quietly. She showed them how a child could be loved and guided without being forced. She showed them how humans and aliens could cooperate without chains or commands. Ethan stood beside her, always patient, always calm. He never took control. He never demanded obedience. He simply supported her. The Velari commander, once furious, eventually spoke again. "Princess Lyra, we do not understand fully. Your choice is strange. It defies tradition. Yet, it shows power." Lyra looked at him. "Power does not always come from force," he said. "Power can come from love and choice." He frowned, but there was respect in his voice. It was new and unsettling. Meanwhile, back on Earth, news of Lyra's story had reached humans across the galaxy. They admired the courage of one princess choosing her own path. They admired the quiet strength of Ethan, who allowed freedom without fear. The council watched. Their joke had failed completely. Humans were no longer weak in their eyes. They were dangerous in a way that could not be measured by weapons or fleets. Humans could teach, inspire, and change even the most rigid traditions.
Lyra and Ethan continued their days.
Mornings with Mia, afternoons in the garden, evenings watching stars and talking about life. Lyra began to understand what it truly meant to love without duty. She began to feel the bond of family forming naturally, freely. One night, as the station drifted silently through space, Lyra whispered to Ethan, "I never thought life could feel like this. Peaceful, yet strong." He smiled. "This is the life you chose." She nodded, the stars reflected in her eyes. She had learned that courage was not about battle. It was about standing for what you believe. It was about choosing, even when everyone else expected obedience. The galaxy was watching. The council was trembling. The Valari Empire had never faced such defiance, yet it was quiet, unarmed, and undeniable. Lyra had become more than a princess. She had become a symbol. A symbol of choice, a symbol that even a human could influence a royal life without violence. And the galaxy would never forget it. The station was quiet that morning. Sunlight spilled through the windows, making the floor glow softly. Lyra stood in the garden, watching Mia play with a small group of children. The way they laughed and shared toys made something bloom in her chest, a feeling she could finally name. Hope. She had chosen this life, and now she was ready for the next step. She had decided to become a mother, not because duty required it, not because anyone commanded it, but because she wanted to. Because she could. Ethan approached quietly, carrying a small bundle of clothes. He smiled, calm and steady.
Ready?
He asked. Lyra turned to him, her silver eyes soft. Yes, she said, I am ready. Preparations for her child's arrival were simple but careful. The station had facilities for medical care, and humans were eager to help. Lyra chose everything herself. The color of the walls, the toys, the small bed near the window. She spent hours arranging each detail. Each item felt like a promise, not an obligation. As the day grew, Valari diplomats and curious humans watched quietly from a distance. They wanted to see how the princess would handle her choice. They wanted a judge. They did not understand yet that choice cannot be judged. It can only be respected. When the time came, Lyra entered the medical bay. Ethan stayed close, his hand resting lightly on hers. She felt fear, yes, but it was tempered by certainty. She had made this decision. No one else could undo it. The labor was long, but steady. Humans and aliens alike watched in awe. Lyra's strength was quiet, but undeniable. She did not scream or complain. She breathed, focused on the life she had chosen to create. Hours passed, and then a cry filled the room. Small, fragile, alive. Lyra looked down and saw her child for the first time. A tiny, perfect being with bright eyes and soft hands. She held the child close. Ethan knelt beside her, placing his hand over hers. You did it, he whispered. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. She had never imagined such power. Not the power to rule, not the power to command, but the power to love, to protect, to choose. The Valari diplomats watched silently. They had never seen a princess hold a child of her own will. The council had tried to control her life, but here she was, standing proud and calm, embracing a choice they could not take away. Days passed. Lyra adapted quickly to motherhood. She learned the rhythm of her child's needs. She watched, guided, comforted, and loved. She was patient, even when tired. She laughed, even when frightened. She learned that love could be stronger than fear. Ethan supported her quietly. He never imposed, never commanded. He simply helped as a partner, as a friend, as someone who understood choice. The bond between them deepened, built on trust, respect, and quiet admiration. Mia visited often, helping Lyra care for the baby. She asked questions, touched the baby's hands, and laughed when the child made funny noises. Lyra felt gratitude. Humans taught her more than she had ever learned from her own people. They taught her how to give freely, without expectation. Outside the station, the galaxy continued to watch. Reports of the princess choosing motherhood spread. Some humans celebrated, some aliens were confused. The council, furious at first, realized slowly that their joke had become a lesson. Choice could not be mocked. It could not be forced. It could only be honored or ignored. Lyra began teaching visitors about life on the station. She showed them gardens, workshops, and classrooms. She explained that family was not defined by blood or duty, but by love, care, and choice. Aliens listened. Humans smiled. Even Valari soldiers who had come to retrieve her paused, unsure how to respond. One evening, Ethan and Lyra walked together in the garden. The baby slept in a small carrier beside them. The station lights reflected on the plants, soft and warm.
I never imagined this, Lyra said.
A life like this. Calm, strong, chosen. Ethan looked at her, smiling. You made it real. You chose. Lyra nodded, holding his hand. She looked at the stars, distant and bright. The galaxy had tried to control her, to shame humans, to prove weakness. Instead, they had witnessed courage, freedom, and love. The council attempted to respond, sending messages and envoys. They demanded obedience, respect, and explanation. Lyra answered simply, firmly, without fear. I am a mother, by my choice. My life is mine. The words echoed across space, simple but undeniable. Gradually, the council's tone softened. They could not force obedience from someone who had already chosen. Even among the Valari, whispers spread. Perhaps freedom could be stronger than duty. Perhaps humans were not weak, but dangerous in ways no one expected. Lyra's child grew, watched over by a community of humans and aliens. Laughter filled the halls. Curiosity, care, and play became normal. Children learned together. Adults supported each other. And Lyra's choice became a quiet revolution. One day, a Valari noble approached Lyra. Princess, he said, your choice? It has changed many minds. Lyra smiled gently. That was never my goal, she said. I only wanted to live my life, to love my child, to make a family. The noble nodded, understanding something he had not before. Sometimes courage is quiet, she continued. Sometimes power is not taken, but given. Sometimes choice is stronger than force. Ethan stood beside her, proud but humble. They looked at their child together. The baby reached out a tiny hand. Lyra held it close. She felt the warmth, the life, and the love that had always been missing in her royal upbringing. The galaxy would remember this story, not as a battle, not as a conquest, but as proof that humans could teach others about life, about choice, about love. The council slowly stopped sending threats. They realized that Lyra's choice was permanent. She had made her life. Her child had made her a mother by will, not by command. Lyra and Ethan continued to live simply. Mornings with sunlight, afternoons in the garden, evenings watching stars and talking. Life was quiet, full, and strong. Children played in the hallways. Humans and aliens worked side by side. The station became a symbol of hope. It was not a palace. It was not a battlefield. It was a home, built on choice. Lyra taught her child the first lessons in life, not about duty, but about kindness. Not about fear, but about courage. Not about obedience, but about freedom. Ethan watched her silently, proud. He had not saved the galaxy. He had not fought wars. He had simply supported a woman in choosing her life. Yet that choice had changed more than anyone expected. The baby laughed, reaching for Lyra's face. She kissed the tiny hands gently, feeling the power of her choice in every heartbeat. She had been given a life to follow, but she had made it her own. She had become more than a princess. She had become a mother, by choice. And in that quiet, simple, and human way, the galaxy began to change. One life, one choice, one family at a time. Lyra looked at the stars through the window, her child sleeping in her arms. She smiled softly. She had chosen love. She had chosen family. She had chosen life. And that was more powerful than any council, any fleet, or any tradition in the galaxy. The station hummed quietly around them. Life went on. Laughter, care, learning, and love filled the halls. The galaxy had seen that humans could teach more than strength, more than strategy. They could teach choice. And choice, Lyra knew, was the greatest power of all.